Hi, this is Zena Harris.
And I'm Mark Rabin.
Welcome to the tie-in.
Well, today we're talking with David Sinfield. He's a gaffer and he's also one of the co-founders of a company called Green Voltage out of the UK that rents battery power stations. But he's a big time gaffer.
Absolutely. If I would say he's probably one of the biggest gaffers in the world, and he's worked on some of the biggest productions that we all know and love, huge blockbuster hits, and was also one of the first folks to truly identify the power of introducing battery electric systems and portable power systems into major blockbuster productions.
And we're talking big stuff here like Aladdin and Wonder Woman 1984 and
James Bond.
James Bond, No Time to Die, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, like all this Indiana
Yeah.
Jones. Like, I mean, this
Yeah.
guy has done
Can't wait
some
to talk to
big
him.
stuff. Yeah, I can't wait to talk to him and figure out like, yeah, what he's thinking.
Yeah.
Like this is prime right here, I think. So
I agree, and I just want to hear some stories as well. I mean,
I hope
hopefully we
I
can.
hope he I hope he shares some stories with us.
Hi, David Sinfield, and welcome to the tie-in. We're super excited to speak with you. You're one of the big movers and first movers in major motion picture industry in terms of harnessing battery electric power systems on huge blockbuster productions. So thank you for joining us. Let's just start with, tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into this.
Sure. I've worked in the film industry as a gaffer for probably the past 15 years, but I've been in the industry for about 25 now. Over the past 10 years, maybe everyone's been looking for different ways to reduce their carbon footprint in the industry, and it all started with not printing paper documents and not using plastic bottles. And as a department, it felt like we needed to make a difference because we're the big diesel generator power consumers on the film set. And a business partner of mine, Adam, we was on a shoot one day. Basically, I'll give you a quick brief background. We were doing a shoot on a low loader, which is basically a vehicle attached to a car, and then you're pulling the vehicle along, so everything's moving at once. And to power lights and camera, in them days, we needed diesel generators, and it was a problem for sound. It was a problem for fumes, and basically Adam said to me, showed me a photo of a volt stack and said, "Have you seen one of these?" And it was just a light bulb moment. It was like,
Yeah.
this is what we need. And then I can't remember exactly when the first units we bought were probably 5 or 6 years ago, I believe. And ever since then, we bought a couple of 5K volt stacks, and since then we've grown into a bigger business, and we try and shoot as many of the bigger or smaller movies that we're working on with battery powered options as opposed to diesel generators as we possibly can. So we've managed to achieve it in lots and lots of different countries and lots of different scenarios, and it's exciting. And as a gaffer, we're able to implement these changes and try and work with other departments to integrate it into their daily work. And a lot of people seem to be doing it, so it's good fun. Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious just on that last point there with working with other departments, like how are you finding that? What are those conversations like for you?
It's one of them things. Everyone knows that there's different types of technology out there now, and when people are very skeptical to try new stuff for the first time, but once they see us using it, whether it be large generators or large batteries or smaller batteries, they tend to strike up a conversation with us, whether they be from the locations department or special effects department or camera or video DIT, and then it's basically, well, how does it work? And when does it need recharging? Will it run out? Will I get through my day? And all these sort of conversations, and a lot of it boils down to just smart planning. It's like in your prep, if you're going to be shooting for a 12-hour day, whatever department you're on, you know that you should work out your power consumption, and then you can work backwards to see how you can make it as efficient and as carbon zero as possible. And lots of departments, to be honest, once they've embraced it and tried it, it's not a tool for every job at the minute, because some movies are obviously gigantic and some are slightly smaller. So it depends on the power needs and what tools they need to do the job. But a lot of people are able to integrate battery power into what they're doing. If they can't completely replace diesel generators, they are able to find tools and different batteries to use to integrate into different setups within their department. So everyone seems to be embracing it in different ways. Everyone seems to be embracing it in different ways. And I think it's like anything, once people have used it once and they realize how effective, both financially and how efficient it can be on a film set, people tend to go back to incorporating it in their next film and their next film and their next film. So it's one of them things. It's a bit like, we always describe using batteries like when you got the first iPhone. You got it and you're like, well, what do we do with this? And then once you've used it once, you don't put it down, and we've had it for God knows how many years now. So, and people tend to be embracing the technology in a big way, which is great.
I'm in the US, Mark's in Canada. We see a lot of stories coming out of the UK about clean tech. Seems like you guys are, really embracing it, doing a lot with this technology. How do you find it just from a cultural perspective? Have you talked to any of your colleagues in the US? Have you, or other places? Like, how does that look like for you? Have you noticed any differences on the uptake of tech in different parts of the world?
I have Green Voltage as a business, we tend to operate a lot in Europe. And we've got units in a few different countries in Europe now, both set up as recharge. Obviously, we're in the summer, so they're recharging bigger battery units via solar. And a lot of people seem to embrace in smaller battery units. I've just come back from a job in Italy for 5 weeks, and the departments out there were great. They really embraced it. And they didn't need a lot of persuasion. They just managed to make it work. I think one of the big differences is the studios have got really, really smart people involved with the sustainability and power management. Netflix, Amazon, all these big companies, and there's very, very smart people working with them to help the different departments to try and become more sustainable, not just through power, but just through other ways that we can work. And I think that's been the big difference recently, not just in the UK, but across Europe, that there's people that are working in a sustainability department, and they're doing power logs, and they're able to work out how much fuel savings you're making. They're able to work out your carbon footprint. So, and the studios are really, really supportive of the departments and the individuals to try and make this and improve every film. So I think that's what's making it easier for departments and people, because obviously everyone's got to work within a budget. There isn't an endless budget, but it's just how we can incorporate stuff to make it more effective.
And have you had to change the way that you shoot the production or you power the production? Have there been any big sea changes in terms of how you're approaching it, and obviously the day of, in terms of how you did it prior to integrating clean energy solutions?
Yeah, there used to be, obviously, if you're shooting a location, for example, for one day in central London, we can now set up the day of or the day before very, very quickly now. And beforehand, when we had diesel generators, there'd always be a conversation of where they're going to park. And it could be 500 meters away from the actual set itself. So you'd obviously have to work out cable runs. You'd have to get people installed, installed cable ramps and all sorts of stuff to keep the set safety for the general public, but also to make it work for us. And there's been a lot of occasions recently in London where we go on recce's and different councils are there, and they're like, well, are you using diesel generators? Is there anything else you can use? And it's like, yeah, today we're not going to be using big lights. We've got different ways of working, especially night shoots, because people are obviously don't want generators running outside their windows of their apartments. So we've effectively shot many night shoots in London now, all battery powered as a department. And we also work with the locations department to power up the trucks so that they're all off batteries, so that it's great for us, but it's also great for the local public and that are trying to get a night's sleep while we're all working anyway. So by bringing this technology in, it has made it more effective and easier for productions to shoot in certain locations at certain times of day.
Yeah. And I read in an article, one of the things you had said was in the beginning of starting Green Voltage, you thought that marketing would be a big part of this. And it's probably why we see a lot of social media on, these units out there on set. I'm always in awe of seeing that. It's like, I tend to be super careful of, I don't know if we should post this, and you guys are out there doing it, and we get to see it. And it's, shows such a positive image of what the industry is doing and can do, and the public perception of all this. Have you seen that kind of, come back to you in terms of, positive feedback and from folks out there?
There is. In recent years, we used to always take photographs of what we were doing on set, and we keep them for personal use and stuff like that before social media. Now social media exists. Everyone's under an NDA. So when we're shooting, you can't take photographs and post them or do anything like that. At the end of a movie being made, once post-production's finished, it's been released, for example, we always check with the relevant studios if we're able to post certain pictures. And people do love seeing that. People love seeing behind the scenes on a movie.
Yeah.
But individuals are not obliged these days to first of all take photographs or speak about what we're doing, because we are under NDA, which I completely respect and understand. And but then the studios do this. There's always a still photographer on set, so they always get some really good stills, and they might be able to share them via the studio with us to put stuff out there. And they're very supportive of that, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But there's loads of scenarios where you'd be like, oh, this would be amazing to show people what we're doing, but we tend to have to do it more as a general conversation these days rather than photographic evidence, to be honest.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I mean, you have some iconic shots that you were able to release, including Daniel Craig sitting on a volt stack, and just the James Bond photos.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're lucky that the stills photographers find these amazing moments and they're able to share them with us. And no, it's amazing when something like that happens. And No Time to Die was the first movie that we integrated volt stacks into our electrical department, to be honest. They literally landed in the UK and we sent them straight up to Norway to film on a lake. So it was pretty good fun. It was good.
It's one of those things that I always say, the technology is one thing, but the real unsung heroes are the gaffers and the folks that are actually learning how to implement those technology, those new tools. And so James Bond you had many aha moments, I'm assuming, throughout the production. You were filming in, I don't know how many locations around the world, and you traveled with your battery electric power systems. I mean, can you speak to some of those, if you're able to some of those experiences where you were like, okay, yeah, we're doing this is and then it changed how you saw how you're going to do production going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. For example, filming on a lake in Norway was a prime example of the sound just echoed everywhere there. So we were able to literally put the 5K volt stack on little sleds and just push them around the lakes. If we did need to fire up big lights because of the time of day, or we were losing the light, for example, we done that. And but the generator was parked miles and miles away. But it was a prime example of we could shoot for 8 or 9 hours a day without any diesel generators, and then for the last hour or two of the day, we need to turn power on because we do need big lights to complete the day. But there was scenarios where the battery technology come into its own. We were filming, and obviously we were filming on lots of car work, so we'd have volt stacks on low loaders attached to Aston Martins and pulling these cars around everywhere. That was powering up cameras and lights. We filmed out in the middle of the sea in Jamaica on boats, and we had a lot of equipment out there, and a lot of it did come from the US. So not just the ones from Green Voltage. So we basically run dual power out there. We had US equipment and UK equipment, so we incorporated it all together, and we was able to shoot night shoots out at sea without having any diesel generators running. And there was a point where we did have to turn a diesel generator on just to charge up one of the volt stacks for like 20 minutes. And as soon as we turned it on, everyone's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And it's like, guys, we've been silent more or less the whole night. So, but their batteries are a great tool. You can put them anywhere, put them inside buildings, inside trains, inside. We always done a lot of the video was always set up in the back of a van in Jamaica, and we put a couple of volt stacks in there. They put the TV screens on top of the volt stacks, and that would drive around and be a video village. And same happened in Italy. We shot night shoots in Italy on the Bond, and we pretty much used mains power or batteries to shoot night shoots in Matera. And it was the same thing. It was great to be able to embrace that for the locals there, because they didn't want diesel generators running outside their shops when it was a big public tourist area, so they didn't want the tourists having to walk around and step over loads of cables and listen to diesel generators while they're trying to invite people into their shops and restaurants. So as a first case study, so to speak, it was a really good one, because we did travel a lot, and we had lots of scenarios where we were able to incorporate the technology, and that was our sort of stepping stone to incorporate it into many other films we've done since then.
Yeah, and in very high pressure situations, mind you.
Yeah, it's one of them things where it's very, very easy to ask for a light somewhere, but you always need the power. And you could say you're standing at the top of a night shoot somewhere, and you're like, "I need a light down there," and it's like, how are we going? How if we had a diesel generator, how would we get power there if there was nothing there? And now, if you're using LED lights, you could just see one of the guys or girls wheeling a battery down the road to plug it in, and it makes it very, very efficient to be able to. You can plan meticulously, but there's always going to be something that catches you out. So, and if you can react very, very quickly and come up with a solution, that's the key to a successful shoot on a film set, really, especially for a gaffer, because changing weather and changing scenarios happens quite a lot. So it's whatever you can do that's going to be quick and efficient is great.
Yeah. What's been kind of, I mean, it can't all be, rosy. Has there been any like major challenges where you're like, oh man, you are problem solving like that and figuring it out? Have there been any instances where you're like, kind of scrambling for a second and need to figure it out?
We're very lucky that the shows we work on, we tend to do a lot of recce's, and we're able to have the time to prep, and we've been very, very lucky with that. And we always have a get out of jail card, so to speak. So we always have something up our sleeve so that we don't get caught out, to be honest. The worst thing, to be honest, is the weather. Especially in the UK, when you shoot, one morning it can be bright sunshine, in the afternoon it can be absolutely pouring with rain. So it's just as a shooting day exteriors on films always has its challenges, but no, we tend to, we've never really been caught out. I think my team that work with me, they're always very, very good at managing our power consumption, and if we need to recharge or we need to switch out batteries. They're very, very good at that. And they've embraced it the same as if you was running the generator and you'd need to refill it. Because we still run generators now. Sometimes we have monster shoots in different places, and batteries just the battery, we haven't got enough batteries, or the technology is not there yet to replace a megawatt generator. So it's just different tools for different jobs, and that's how we embrace it. We embrace every job as sort of a blank page and see where we want to go creatively, and then what tools we want to use, and then how we can power it up and be sustainable and efficient.
You were, I noticed in some of your social media posts, solar panels as well. And I know that some of them are even tied into the 20K, your mobile systems.
Yes.
Are you finding more adoption and more openness to integrating solar, or is that only where when you have specific space and you're there for an extended amount of time?
It does tend to be a specific space and amount of time. If you're going to be at a location for a couple of weeks, we'd always love to utilize that sort of technology, especially if we're going to be guaranteed the weather. And it's surprising how much solar. We have been surprised ourselves that you can put 10 kilowatt an hour of solar. And once we tend to, these days, we tend to use it we may use solar in a big unit base as a hybrid setup, but we'd have a smaller generator attached to a couple of batteries, but they'd be attached to solar. So there could be a time where if it's a bright day, they're not pulling lots and lots of power, the generator wouldn't even run. But it does, at the minute, it does tend to be the solar setups do seem to be a more of a long-term solution rather than the short-term at the minute. And it's mainly for space. If you're somewhere for 1 or 2 days, it's a big setup to install for a couple of days and then move somewhere else. But saying that, people love seeing that. People really, really everyone's seen batteries now. In all sorts of walks of life, I think, not just the film industry, but once they see a big solar setup and they see that and you can actually show them this is what we're doing, it's great. And even to the point where we might set up a battery, have solar panels recharging that all day, and then if we're using big or smaller batteries elsewhere, overnight when we wrapped, we take them back to that charging point, so to speak, and we can recharge all our batteries overnight, ready for the next day, that has been completely recharged from sun. So that's a really, really good. That's the way that we'd really, really like to embrace recharging batteries, if we were able to. Obviously, you need the weather. In the UK, we don't get it that much, but when we've been in Italy, especially, and warmer climates, they do tend to really like to embrace it.
Yeah, it's not just PR, right?
No, it's not. It actually does work. And people, I think more and more people now are getting solar panels on their roofs. So once they see on a bright day how much power is coming into their house, everyone's sort of slowly moving towards different technology. And once people do understand that, and you can actually show them there's 10 kilowatt of solar going into this battery at the minute, it's quite a surprise to some people.
Yeah. Like, walking down the sidewalk in your city and seeing film crew out there. I mean, you notice them, right? You notice them, and you're walking by and you see solar or batteries just hanging out on the street there. It's a pretty good vibe for the film industry when folks walk by and see that stuff.
Yeah, no, it is. And people always like to, when you're shooting on a film set or a commercial, people always are interested, what you're shooting, what you're doing, and oh, what's that? And you go, that's a battery. That's what we use, and that's what we're using to power the lights or the video or the DIT and people like that. They really do. And it's, so you're not using generators. It's like, no, next week we might be, but this week we're not pulling massive amount of power and we don't need it. So so this is what we're doing, and people tend to like that. They do. It's the general public do center. And then the other thing as well, so literally if you're putting a battery on the sidewalk next to your lights or your videos, once again, you haven't got to worry about people walking over cables and all the small things like that just make a location shoot a lot more user friendly for the general public. Is great.
Yeah, it's that sort of decentralization of power that allows what I'm, gathering is just more freedom for how you're, you've got, how you're using tech on set.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, within a unit base or in a locations department, or the amount of trucks that you've got, they don't tend to change that much throughout a 20-week shoot or a 30-week shoot or a 2-week shoot. But as an electrical department, there's days when you might have all your big lights out for whatever reason, or you might just be shaping light with bounces and negative, and just powering up the video and the DIT or whatever needs directors monitors. So you are able to. It's a daily planning thing for a gaffer and his electrical team to figure out the best way to implement and make it a sustainable shoot. And then it's great when we get the sustainability department come to us at the end of the week and go, "Oh, you guys have done great this week." And it's like, yeah, it's been a good week for that.
Are you powering? What's your solution around 18K lights? I mean, this has been sort of the bump in the road, right? In terms of truly going full battery electric or renewable.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've got 20 kilowatt by 100 kilowatt hour batteries, and it's the sort of thing where I think you'd be very, very brave to go to a shoot and just try and rely on batteries with 18 kilowatt units.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is film shoots, you might be intending shooting a scene for 3 hours, for example, and then the rest of the day you're doing something different. And you could go, yeah, I could use a battery for that, and that'd be fine. If you then start going into 6-7 hours, and then you're going into overtime, all of a sudden you get to a situation where you're like, we're going to get caught out here. So I think once again, I think it's power planning, but it's also a film set is an organic thing. Anything can change at any second, and the director might want to shoot a different location, or they might want to shoot longer, or anything could happen. So you've always got to prepare to cover yourself. Personally, if we had 18Ks, I'd like to use the battery if we were going to shoot for a certain amount of time. But we tend to try and set up. It's very, very quick to set up a hybrid setup between the battery and a smaller generator. So it's literally a bell wire. So if we could set them up and get them talking, that's how we try to implement it. Obviously, for productions, they're renting a diesel generator and a battery. But the way that we try to compensate and offweigh the cost of that is that then you could be running a diesel generator for 12 hours a day, and you're refueling it all the time. If you rent a battery and a generator and you only run the generator for 3 hours, the amount that you're going to save in fuel could pay for that battery, and your carbon footprint's coming down. It's not every production can afford to do that, and everyone's got to work within budgets, but there is ways of doing it. But then there's some days where you might have 18Ks going through a cathedral window, so then you're in a whole different scenario. But and the thing about the electrical department, it is a very, very creative. Every cinematographer you work with has got different ideas, and some just want to use big HMIs, some just want to go with LEDs, and might be old school tungsten lamps. There's we've got lots of tools that we could potentially use. So it's just about approaching it once you've done your recce's and how you can facilitate as best you can. Yeah. I think we will get there one day. We will get there with big enough batteries one day. Once again, I think the renting of the batteries isn't a problem. I think the recharging on bigger monster batteries is going to be more of a problem. But it depends on where you are for the locations as well. If we can find a way of, like I say, at Green Voltage, we try and use the batteries as a storage solution, and if you're shooting one day and you've got no way of recharging it, once you're finished, we drop a recharge one off and take that old one away and recharge it for you. So there is ways of making it work, but I'd say when you've got a lot of 18Ks, it's a tricky, to be honest.
How close have you been getting to doing all full blockbuster run a show with no diesel generators?
We've done a show that shot for 49 days in the UK about a couple of years ago, and we used, out of the 49 days, I think we used diesel generators for like 4 days.
Wow.
That that wasn't just location based, that was studio based as well. So we were using mains power. But as a department, I think there was only 4 days where we used diesel generators. We shot a lot of locations in London at night. So we was able to use LED technology and batteries, and we moved very, very fast. We'd sometimes shoot 3 or 4 locations a night. So there was a lot going on that job, and the battery solutions were great for us, especially at night, because we was able to embrace that. So we've come very, very close, but we haven't completely shot a whole movie without batteries, without diesel generators as of yet. But we're coming close. We're coming close.
So really, any day now, we'll hear about it, right?
I think
it's
there
coming.
is. Absolutely, and a lot of lights come with small batteries attached to them now. Like we use Astera tubes, and they've got batteries built into them, and you could go into a location and just use Astera tubes and practical lights and stuff like that some days. And it really depends on the type of feature that you're shooting. If I'm honest, there might be, if for example you might be shooting in a forest and you start the day and it's bright sunshine, and then in the afternoon it becomes really, really grey, but you need to maintain that when shafts are light in a forest, you need to turn your 18Ks on, or your soft suns or whatever. So when you've got control of when you've actually got complete control of everything that's going on, it makes it a lot easier. For example, being in a contained environment like a stage, but when you're outside in the elements, sometimes anything can happen. So, but we're getting close. We'll find a way of doing it.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. We're a creative bunch in this industry, so I'm sure you guys know, like, I mean, you're masters at your craft, right? So I'm sure you got it.
No, there's an Oscar in there. There's an Oscar in there for you guys somewhere.
Yeah, maybe one day. No, it's we're shooting a few films we've done recently have sort of been different location every day, and even from that situation, you're filming, you just roll up and you guys just wheel your kit off and you're wheeling 10K batteries into different locations. It's things like that where it's just become the norm in a lot of situations. And like I say, unless you need 9Ks or 18K through Windows, but it tends to be, everyone's got different ways of working. So the way that we tend to work works for us, and like I say, everyone's got their own ways of doing it. So we support them as much as we can, and if they've got other ways of working, then it works. There's no right or wrong way to do stuff in the film industry that we've all learned over a very, very long time.
Well, we're curious. We have been asking lots of people this question. We're trying to kind of suss out these kind of a new way of doing things, a new playbook, and we're curious, like, what would be, one of the top principles if you were to create a new playbook that you would have for how you're approaching this work
for lighting film sets.
Yeah,
in general, I think,
and sustainability. I would say in general, it's like like if you were to write a playbook on on the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's every set that you get handed by the production designer or the director to light and sort of light their vision, so to speak, through either having conversations with them or different concepts. You could be lighting a very, very small room one day, and then you could be on a monster set one day, and then you could be in Leicester Square in central London. So I think the most important thing is just to, like I mentioned previously, is that, say there's 100-day shoot, there's probably a lot of days within that where you could rewrite your old playbook and go, right, we're going to be able to do this on this day, and we're going to be able to do this on that day, and we can take a chance this day and not take diesel generators with us, and we can run LED lights, and we can achieve our lighting objective and exactly what we want to do through being as sustainable as possible. So I think that once you've got a script and a schedule, and creatively you know what the lighting needs to be like and what you need to visually make it look like, there is ways of figuring out your lighting package and then how you can actually power it, because that's basically what the batteries are doing. They're just powering up your tools and the equipment that you're using. And it's exactly the same. It doesn't matter whether it's 10 trucks that are for all different departments or whether it's a trailer at unit base. Everyone's power consumptions are different. And once people figure out exactly what they are doing, for example, at a unit base, if you set up a hybrid setup and instead of running a diesel generator for 24 hours a day for 20 weeks, if you set up a hybrid system and you run it for half that time on the first film, and then the next film you run it for half that time again, all of a sudden everyone's playbooks and the way they're thinking about things is changing.
Mm-hmm. It's very dynamic.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think the most important thing for everyone is it's hard for people to, we're in an industry where people have done things a certain way for so long. It is hard because everything is so fast moving and people want to embrace new stuff, but sometimes it's not the right time to do that. There might be the next show they do, it might be the right time to do that because they've got a little bit more time. But people do tend to want to try new stuff. It's just you've got to make it fit into your budget. You've got to make it fit into the time you've got with the people that you've got to integrate it. But once, like I say, once people start figuring it out, how efficient and easy it can be. But I completely understand when people say I've never used it. This doesn't seem the right time for me to do that. And you're like, no, that's fine. Maybe the best time to do it is when we're in prep and we can just set something up for you and you can see how it would work. And then you can go, oh, I might be able to use it this week, but not that week, and be for different situations.
Yeah.
But, another question in terms of the technology, are you seeing any new technologies coming out, whether lighting or batteries or anything else that you're using as in your toolbox that's exciting you here in the next foreseeable future?
I think there's new manufacturers tend to be making lots of new lights constantly, and they are all very, very powerful, low wattage LED lights. It tends to be. Anything that comes with a battery these days or is low powered and people can become very lightweight and effective in how they light a film set seems to be a good way to go. There isn't anything really that's replaced an 18 kilowatt HMI or an Arimax yet, and I'm sure that there's people working on that sort of technology. But a lot of people have mentioned hydrogen to us before, and I know that some film unit bases have used them, but you need a very, very big site to be able to set that up. But people are trying new stuff, and I think that's great. If people are willing to try new stuff and figure it out, I think it's great. But no, I think anything from a lighting perspective, we can now put up a big light box full of LEDs and run it off a small battery for a whole night. I think that's pretty, and then run everything off an iPad and change the color of everything. Literally in past 10, 15 years, what as a lighting department, what we can actually control and how quick we can work, standing next to the cinematographer, has become pretty impressive, to be honest. And then now they're running off of batteries, and it's pretty cool sometimes, some of the stuff we do.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Need a good desktop though, that's the problem.
Yeah, totally.
That's true.
Yeah.
Are you are you guys documenting this stuff, kind of doing a behind the scenes of what you guys are doing, and then plan to release any kind of this footage or how you guys made these movies, these biggest movies?
We as I say, we were unable to take photographs or do anything similar to that. Behind the scenes, it's usually what we get given by the productions. What we tend to do, Green Voltage as a company, is we would put data sheets together to send to a production at the end of a show, to show them how much fuel they would have saved, how much time their batteries have been running. If they've got a hybrid setup, how did it work? If they had a solar setup, how much solar power they've generated. But on the bigger shows, there's always a sustainability department that are logging all this data for every department. So we tend to do it for productions, and we provide them with any data that they need. And also with the sustainability departments doing the same thing. There's a lot of data that's floating around, and people are able to visually see and work out not necessarily the savings, but the carbon footprint of these productions, which is great. And the productions are looking at lots and lots of different ways to improve all the time, which is fantastic.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, David Sinfield. Yeah. Any sort of closing thoughts for our listeners as we near the end of our conversation?
No, I think one thing is everyone wants to try and everyone wants to try and embrace the technology and do the right thing, and people just need the chance to do it. And like I say, sometimes it's not the right time to do it, but there will be other times in the future where it does work. But as long as we keep getting the support from the big studios and the producers and the everyone that's involved in these productions to do the right thing, and then I think everyone, as an industry especially, we're definitely moving in the right direction. And every show that we go on, we try and improve what we're doing, and every other department's trying to improve what they're doing. So I think with the technology that's being developed and what's available out there, I think it's fantastic, and the future's looking bright and green.
You're here.
Yeah, amen.
Totally. Awesome. Thank you so much.
No, it's great. It was great to speak to you both. And I hope you enjoy the summer.
Wow, so cool.
Yeah, he's very humble.
Totally.
Some of the biggest
Totally.
productions in the world.
He's like,
and
I'm doing the lighting.
And these guys have been doing it. I mean, 4 generator days out of 49.
I know. I know.
That is incredible. That's an incredible stat. It's interesting how still behind the scenes all of this stuff still is, right? I mean, this is,
oh yeah,
it's and if they do their job right, people notice even less, right? And
yeah,
that's always that adage. But I mean, I think more and more we're seeing, these numbers come out into the forefront, and as well, you've got studios like Netflix and Amazon that are recording and doing footage right behind the scenes as well of the production being shot, just like Robert Leroy as well, right? I mean, he's got a whole other part of his discussion around how he shot the production. So I'd love to see more of that as well, because that's what's exciting for me.
Yeah. It's all coming around. I mean, I think one of the things, even from David's conversation and others we've had, it's like we're just paying more attention now to some of this stuff. Information has come out and whatnot, and it's just allowing us to pay more attention, which leads to more data, which leads to more conversations, all of that, right? It's just coming around full circle. And I like seeing, guys like him, or folks we've talked to just get really excited about their work and what they're doing and how they're doing it. And like, it's green and the public likes it and all the stuff. Right. So, it's great to see. It really is.
And they've got a great Instagram and Facebook, posting. You can follow them, Green Voltage UK, on Instagram. I'm not sure exactly what the handle is, but I mean, really cool footage.
Yeah. Green Voltage, just Google it. I mean, they've got some good stuff, and that iconic like shots from Bond and whatnot with batteries. I mean, it's all there.
Aston Martin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's all there. Super cool. All right. Thanks for listening in.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, listeners. If you have a story about innovation and sustainability in entertainment, please get in touch with us at tieinpodcast@gmail.com. That's TIEIN podcast, all one word, @gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We may ask you to be a guest on the show.
If you like today's conversation and want to hear more, please like us and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Our designer is Aaliyah Kane. Music is by Peter Chapman. Our producer is Colin Miller.